Jesus. See what I work with, folks? Huh?
Should we do it by candlelight?
No. Sure. Hello, YouTubers.
I thought you were just going to run it down. Lock it in. Nerd it up. Hoorah.
We'll expose Joe Biden's first big lie as president.
Uh-oh.
Equality coming for some, not for others, at the federal government. All that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning to you,
How
sir.
are you today?
I am feeling kind of fat and lazy. We're sitting down doing the show for the first time ever. Never have we sat.
No, but we have chairs and figured, why? Let's give it a shot, see what happens.
I just looked at the YouTube feed. I look a little bit like Jabba the Hutt.
Good thing you're not wearing purple. You look like Grimace.
My belly is a little closer to the camera than my head. How much for the little girl? How about that? Very excited to be here today. It's a Friday. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at Deerland Feed. It's 61 degrees in Victoria, heading to a Deerland Feed high of 79 today. Cloudy this morning. Skies are going to clear up. The picture has remained cloudy longer. Originally, it was going to be sunny by noon. Now it's going to be sunny by about 2 o'clock.
All right. Well, we'll take the sun.
I'm not being picky.
Well, you kind of are.
I'm just saying that,
If the show starts going off today, derailing, or you could always pull out a Jabba the Hutt impersonation.
Right. Oh, Jabba. Tell you what.
That's our default. Han Solo.
You know something we've never talked about? I don't even think we've talked about it off the air. It is uncanny how much past Simpsons episodes mirror real life years later. I know many of you have seen this via the internet, but it's crazy how, there was a deal that said that one of them was Tom Hanks says, "Hi, I'm Tom Hanks, and the federal government has lost so much credibility, I'm going to lend it some of mine." And just the other day, Tom Hanks came out and said he wanted to talk about the great things about being an American. And I mean, some of that might be predictable, but they even had the guy with the guy with the horns at the Capitol. They had all the way down to the tattoos on his arm. It's weird. It's uncanny.
Well, the Flintstones had that hat first. They saw that. They saw that hat coming.
That was
a loyal order of water buffalo.
When you're going to the lodge.
Yeah.
Lodge night. Well, could it be any more sexist and demeaning to women? Wilma's latched down in the kitchen. Wilma very plain, wearing different shades of beige.
I read an article the other day, and I thought at first it might have been satire and tongue in cheek, but they were then they got into it and they were serious that it was all about, the symbolism was all about keeping people in places. It was about animal abuse and using animals for certain purposes, like the elephant and being the hose and stuff. I was just like, come on, I couldn't keep reading the crap.
Right. They were just prehistoric.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it was animated. I mean,
meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stone Age family.
I mean, it was funny.
From the town of Bedrock. They're a page right out of history.
Richard King, good morning. You're the first one in. Richard, I'll get with you. We'll get you a
Let's
T-shirt
put them
today for being
down the
the
street.
first in Friday. There we go.
Through the courtesy of French 2 feet.
Marvin Mickish, Patrick Strauss, Judge Posey, H.R. Mallory checking in, Monica Jost, Bobby Leister, David Glass, Justin Glass.
With the Flintstones.
Leisterometers at 691.
Have a yabba dabba do time. A dabba do time.
Oh, you didn't put the thing
What?
in
The what?
The ivory. You didn't hook the mics up.
Oh, man, go do that. Folks, it's about to get even better. Right here at Magic 95.9. By the way, the signal I can verify yesterday, well past Inez. Good morning, T-Lad. I know you're listening. Dawn Nicole takes those little heathen out to the bus stop at Inez. And just like that, let there be stereo. The tunes get better for those of you at home. And the signal was strong, and somebody else sent me, you okay there, Pop?
Yeah.
Somebody else sent me a note that they could hear us almost all the way to Goliad. So good morning, Goliad County. Good morning, Coletta Creek.
Karen Webb's in, Stephanie Conti, the Iceman is in, Chris Conrad, good morning.
Chris Conrad, so there you go. Sounds like you're on the iPad.
We fixed that. There's
hello, Mark Jameson.
Mark Jameson checking in.
That's just one of my favorite guys right there. I'm going to tell you something, folks. I am absolutely convinced with no relativity, no slam to prior regimes, between new chief Robert Arredondo and J Mark there, Mr. Chief, Deputy Chief Jameson. We are fortunate in this community to have law enforcement at the city level that is par excellence. Very, very blessed to have leadership that cares about the rank and file and leadership that cares about you.
Brent Anderson checking in. Scott Tomko, good morning. Diane Tippett, Peter McNally, Natalie Meyer, Denise Hartman, BJ Nelson, H.R. Mallory, telling us to have a yabba dabba do time. Carol Lee Smith, good morning.
Hey, Carol Lee. And good morning, Peter. We need to
Jeremy
see Peter
Pena.
McNally a T-shirt too, by the way.
Yeah, don't forget today, folks. Coffee with the Judge going on at is it Liberty Coffee House tonight?
7 to 9.
Or today?
Right now.
Yeah,
it's
right
going
now.
on right now.
This morning.
Liberty Coffee House. Go by and see Judge Zeller. And I saw the judge Sunday and asked him, why are you doing this? And he said, I just want to give people an opportunity to come by. He said, I know my office is a hassle to get to and to get into. Just come by and share concerns or criticisms or suggestions. I think it's beautiful.
James Kerr says past Goliad signal starts getting a little crackly, but
what do you want?
We didn't even reach Raisin prior to this move. So hey, Judge Posey, ask congrats to UHV and the 56 student athletes named the Dean's List. Speaks volumes. Thanks, Judge.
That how many student athletes you got over there?
That number is 33% of our student athletes.
That's phenomenal. That's a lot more people than the general populace of the university.
170 student athletes in the fall, and that 56 represents 33%. I crunched those numbers self-servingly. 18% of UHV student makes the Dean's List, so we're almost double that achievement. So I'm proud. Awesome. I'm proud of that, especially typically for a group of students that would prefer to be in a classroom because they don't learn their sports via the internet.
Right.
They're very hands-on type of learners. And so, very proud of that accomplishment. So thanks, Judge. Appreciate that. And I'm really proud of the work that the kids do and the coaches for the type of student that they recruit to UHV. Speaks volumes of the young men and women that represent our university and our city. Amanda Smith-King, good morning. Clint Ives checking in.
This unpaid testimonial about UHV brought to you by the Carter side of Wade & Carter, where no revenue exchanged hands. Clint Ives, good morning. Now, can you pronounce that gentleman's name right there?
Stephen Castaneda.
No.
Clint Ives?
No.
That name?
It's Stephen is an N. It's Castaneda. That N is called, it has a little thing across it. It's called an Enya.
Okay.
It's called an Enya.
Castaneda. Enya, I thought she was that high-pitched singer from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, right? we had an offshore fishing team in the valley we called Team Enya. Yeah, Castaneda.
Castaneda.
I love the way you just say it. He's often wrong, folks, but seldom in doubt. He just goes, Stephen Castaneda.
I know his brother, too.
Right, Castaneda.
Adam Daughtry, good morning.
Good morning.
Jeff Fonseca checking in. I think we're caught up.
Good job.
So, Joe Biden says he wants to get to 100 million vaccinations in his first 100 days.
But he can't because Donald Trump had no plan. That was announced yesterday. Donald Trump left the cupboard bare of effort. There was no plan in place by Donald Trump.
No, there was no distribution plan. They had to fix the entire. They had to start from scratch. Yeah, they had to start from scratch with the whole vaccination distribution plan because the Trump administration didn't have one. First of all, if that were the case, we wouldn't have had 1,000+ people get mass vaccinated yesterday at the community center.
Correct.
Because the vaccination would have never got here to Victoria without a distribution plan. So, I mean, that's the first little bit of BS.
Makes your like your little spidey sense tingle. Like, yeah. Are they telling me the truth? Steven says he can hear us all the way to Placido. That's awesome.
He used to lose us right at 87.
Robin Moore Kniblin lives downtown. I guarantee you she used to not be able to hear us.
Isaac Villarreal, good morning. Dana Morgan Della Garza checking in. Tell Ricky D hi when he gets up.
DLG.
So that's the first little bit that should tell you,
maybe that's.
But let me put this in a little context. A politician isn't going to make that sort of promise because that's the sort of promise that Joe Biden has ran on. We're going to cure the virus is basically what people are believing out of Joe Biden.
Yep.
Even though there's no man on earth that can cure a virus.
He's got a plan, Jack.
He's got a plan.
Come on, man. I got a plan.
But you're not going to make that goal of 1 million vaccinations a day for your first 100 days without having some understanding that you're going to be able to get there easily or you're already pretty close to being there.
Absolutely. How many doses was Trump passing out the last couple of weeks?
Well, because there's no way Joe Biden is going to make that statement and only get to half of it because it would be a huge failure by any stretch of the imagination. If you make a goal like that and you only get half,
we're doing 1 million a day, but we're only 2 weeks from now we're only doing 400,000. That doesn't look good.
But in this way, if he gets to 800, 900,000, hey, that's 80, 90%. That's not bad. People are going to go, hey, that's pretty good. He's not quite there, but that's still a passing grade. Not going to really fault him for it.
Sure.
Right? I would think most people would do that.
Growing pains.
Yeah. So U.S. News and World Report last week, January 14th, folks, before the inauguration.
Come on now.
We hit 951,000 vaccinations, I believe, on January 13th.
Without a plan.
Supposedly without a plan. Bloomberg, and these are not.
They're not pro-Trump.
No, these are not pro-Trump. Bloomberg ran against Trump. Don't forget that. Fought Trump a lot of the way in the last 4 years.
Probably could have been a VP instead of Kamala based on popularity.
Well, yeah, he's probably more popular than Kamala. On average, last week we were at almost 913,000 vaccinations a day. So for Joe Biden to come out and say he was left with no distribution plan and make it seem like that $1 million vaccines a day is almost going to be an insurmountable challenge,
right. And
building himself up to look like the hero when he gets there, when in essence we're already there.
Right.
We're at 91 point whatever percent of that million based on last week's average, which means some days we're a little higher, some days we might have been a little lower, but you're still putting out a lot of vaccines to get to 912,000 a day on average.
And if 2 weeks from now he's averaging 912,000 vaccines, I'll be proud of him. But it's not because there wasn't a plan in place. That's the whole point. So that was one of his self-grandizing, misstatements. What about his comment T-Lap points out about fracking? Remember when Joe Biden goes, "Come on, Jack, we're not going to stop fracking. That's just Donald Trump." That yesterday, in a very nonchalant way, he goes, "Well, of course we're going to stop fracking. We're stopping it." Okay.
Yet don't forget the Trump campaign and others were vehemently fact-checked. Posts were removed on social media for claiming that Biden was going to end fracking.
This statement is being disputed. That was on Twitter before they got rid of free speech.
And then yesterday, executive order. Actually, he might have signed it the first day he was in office, but came to light yesterday that he banned fracking on federal land. No more federal fracking. The only federal fracking is to the taxpayer when they bend you over and frack you.
Easy. It does bother me that because the government doesn't really own anything, it bothers me that we have this delineation between federal land and public land. Just like today, Joe Biden is supposed to sign an executive order mandating a $15 minimum wage for federal employees. Not for you, Mr. Waterburger, hardworking guy, but for federal employees.
Send it on down the line. Isn't that an Alabama song? Hello, Detroit.
Here's to the one that's
still hard worker.
Over at Burger King. Yeah. No, I'm telling you, the idea that we're going to have, if Peter McNally chime in, does it not bother you a little bit? Conservative, Democrat, Republican.
Keep Meyer says, I don't know any of it. I can't sell my shares.
Does it bother you a little bit that there's going to be a standard for the government worker that's not good for the gander?
Well, I'm trying to think. And to me,
I know where you're going.
First blushes, this is very symbolic.
Purely symbolic.
Because I can't think of a federal government job that pays less than $15 an hour. Even the temporary census workers were making 18 or 20 an hour.
But here's what's coming. The Green New Deal. Hey, we need you to have $15 an hour because we're going to tear down this musty old Capitol and build back a new one with solar panels on the roof from Wind Services. And it's going to be green and self-sustaining. And for $15 an hour, you get to help pull the panels off.
You bring up an interesting point.
I hope so.
Or thought in my head that's interesting, and maybe it's not. But
we will be the judge.
For a party that was so upset and up in arms over a few idiots that wrongly stormed the Capitol, are they going to get to a point where in that Green New Deal of knocking down all federal buildings and rebuilding them, that the Capitol is on the list at some point?
Yeah, we don't really need that building. Funny story, not a funny story, but just so you know, the Capitol, when Abe Lincoln took office, I don't know, when was it, 1861, 3, whenever it was. When Abe Lincoln took office, the Capitol dome was only half completed. And as the Civil War was raging, construction continued on the Capitol dome. And Lincoln, maybe even rightfully so, caught much criticism over why are you still building buildings while our country is in disarray. And Abe Lincoln said something to the effect of, if people see us working towards something for the Union, they'll realize that the Union is worth preserving. I wonder if we are there. I don't know. Pete McNally says states can control the rate if they choose. Example, California.
California's already there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're already there. But I just don't understand the logic of the government. So if I say at UHV, if Bob Glenn goes on the air and says, everybody here will make at least $10 an hour starting today, Well, if we check the roll and everybody there makes $12.50 or more already, what did he really accomplish? He raised the minimum wage by over $2. Well, no, he really didn't. I mean, it's symbolic. And I think that I don't have a problem with Joe Biden doing that, but why just for government workers? I mean, if it's good enough for government workers, shouldn't it be equally or even more so good for the American people? Maybe he realizes that wouldn't be such a popular position to take with small business right now in the middle of a pandemic. So he has no problem, since the government just prints money, guaranteeing that to the government worker, because, hey, they're just all on the tit anyway. Allen's Record Service.
To me, it's buying votes.
Yeah. 578-6300. Allen's Record Service. Folks, if you're going to buy and need a tow, there's only one place to go.
Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. Actually, there's really no place to go. There's the only place to call.
Yeah, they're the Yabba Dabba Do Time Tower. Call them, 578-6300, the VCS companies, period. The Hartman Communication Empire is our banner sponsor for a reason. They set the gold standard in this community for service before, during, and after the sale, commitment, family, small business, locally owned. They are the standard that applies pretty much across the board to our sponsors. Whether you need surveillance, surround sound, security systems, cameras. You and Cheryl put you in a 1080p out there. You're getting jiggy with it. Come on. Got the camera there in the room. They're monitoring that back at the VCS. Yeah. Anyway, folks, reach out to the VCS companies. Chesnick Furniture Company, 101 years in downtown Victoria, 116 West Juan Lynn, corner of Juan Lynn and Bridge.
101 years.
Wow. Isn't that something? That's a long time. It's almost as long as Joe Biden's been in D.C. Think about that. Bobby Leon and his family.
He's been there half as long.
He's been there half as long as. Think about that. Think about that. We've had like 4 generations of Leons going through Chesnick, and Joe Biden's been
still in D.C.
It's still same as it ever was.
He's been there about as long as Deerland Feed Store has been in business.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Crazy.
It's sad to do nothing all those years. But Chesnick has done a ton for all these years. And reach out to you.
Put that in perspective. What was minimum wage when Joe Biden got to Washington, D.C.?
There wasn't one.
There wasn't
48 years ago.
So I bet you if you're adjusted for inflation, it's not much more than it was back in 1965.
Pete McNally says Congress will have to approve for a national minimum wage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that too.
But they also do it. But federal workers work nationwide. And then Veracruz. Today's a great day to get back into Veracruz. Remember that Lee and Ida lost their Aunt Jane
2 days ago.
2 days ago, and
earlier this week,
Minnie lost her sister. So reach out to them, tell them Wade and Carter and you share the love with them.
BJ Nelson's executive orders seem to be rolling out like manure, and yes, they are. They seem to be, but let's not forget Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Biden
did 17 yesterday. I think Donald Trump was like 60 early on.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean,
it's the way the game is played.
Unfortunately, it's gotten to this point. You're circumventing the process that should be taking place.
Right.
And just
shame on Congress, though. It takes them forever to do anything.
No, it does. And just like the pardons, I don't agree with the pardons that Donald Trump gave out the other day. A few of them I could probably go back and say, okay, yeah, that one's legit. Here's a dying person with a year left in their sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few in there, but I mean, again, everybody's done it. But the funny thing is to see the left go completely unhinged because, and even some on the right, well, he released that criminal Democrat.
Right.
He released Steve Bannon. Yeah, what was Mark Rich? Anybody ring a bell to anybody on the left and Bill Clinton? This is a guy that was selling commodities to countries we were forbidden to do business with and then giving the money back to the Clintons. We touched on this yesterday.
But it was the Clintons and they're exempt.
Yeah.
James Kerr says it took one night for Congress to impeach Trump. But, there was a young representative yesterday, a lady that introduced articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. And it begs the observation that both parties sink to the lowest level. And nobody takes the high road. The Democrats can't claim that they do. They certainly lead the way. This goes back to when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton. I can recall at the time having the opinion that, sure, Bill Clinton's a crook, but this is really stupid. I remember that as a younger man thinking, boy, this is really dumb. But the idea that neither party, wouldn't it be so presidential for Joe Biden to say, come on, Jack, Donald Trump, he had his views. We're not going to go. Let's do away with this impeachment. He's going to be 80 years old, man. He ain't running again. Do away with this impeachment and take the high road. But neither party can afford to take the high road. They both languish at the lowest level they can possibly justify.
Adam Doddridge says, why not pardon Edward Snowden? Julian Assange comes to mind. A lot of questions asked on that. Here's why. Because in previous administrations, those who leaked documents were arrested, were tried, eventually were pardoned, but they served some significant time in federal prison before being released. And I think that's the difference. And I think that's why, because the federal government doesn't want to open up that can of worms that would allow anybody who just disagrees with them to take a bunch of classified information illegally out the door, release it somewhere, and then not even get a slap on the wrist for doing something that they weren't supposed to do.
Chris Conrad makes a great point. If you go up just a little bit, it says, hey, look at how low the lowest common denominator has become in this country. Unfortunately, now both sides are trying to appeal to those voters. It is a shame that you've got in stereotype, which is easy to do with politics. In stereotype, you've got, if I said there's an LBGQT XYZ crowd, you're going to say liberals, leftists, Democrats. Well, in order for the Republicans to counter that, they tend to gravitate towards and try to appease the white trash redneck who might have a Confederate flag hanging in his garage, and the one thing that you might not expect me to say is at least the LBGQT crowd isn't blatantly breaking the law or necessarily blatantly offending anyone, by commission, but whereas the white trash redneck meth head might be, but the Republicans need that meth head vote. I'm just being honest. They want the white trash skinhead vote because they got to counter the guy with the vagina hat walking down the middle of New Orleans. You got to counter that vote.
I was just drunk.
Yeah. H.R. Mallory pointed out that President Trump did pardon a guy involved in a murder of a New York police officer. He thought that was surprising because Trump was so pro.
I hadn't seen that one yet, but 143 pardons and commutations or whatever.
As long as Lil Wayne got out, that's all I care about.
But
why was Lil Wayne in?
I have no idea. It's Lil Wayne. I'm not sure.
Come on, man. You got to listen to Lil Wayne.
But,
I saw Sheriff Louderback checked in. I want to make sure that Sheriff, you got a photo on the front page of the Advocate today. You can see the Advocate's building behind us over Ash's shoulder here. That's it. That's the headquarters, the epicenter of what happened 3 days ago.
Peter McNally says lawsuits are coming on the Keystone XL pipeline. I found it interesting that this was, and this harkens back to the Green New Deal and the elements of it. But we'll get into some of the idiotic exchanges that I had last evening on this.
Was there chicanery?
No, it was just idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Yeah. I don't know how to put it any better.
Does he listen?
No, I don't know. No idea. I'm not even going to call him out because it'll be glaringly obvious.
You know who you are in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
But here's another Biden lie. He pandered to the union voters. He pandered to the unions.
Got to have that union
by killing the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. Anywhere from I've heard the range 10 to 16,000 jobs have been killed. 11,000 seems to be the most common number people are using. Of those 11,000, 8,000 of those were union jobs, whether it's the steel that needs to be built for the pipeline, what have you, the heavy machinery operators, the cherry pickers, whatever. 8,000 of those 11,000 jobs, so 80% are union jobs, right?
You got me right there going, hello, Pittsburgh steel mill worker.
When we get off the air, I'm gonna have to play that song just to get it out of my head.
Spotify right now is lighting up with Alabama's greatest hits. See that mountain? One of these days I'm gonna climb that mountain. Dawn's like, why don't you like Alabama? Did you have an old girlfriend way back when that liked Alabama and that's why you don't like it now? I'm like, dude, I've heard those songs.
Yeah. It's not that I don't like them. It's kind of overplayed in my memory.
Then they went to Branson and took over for like a decade.
Oh, man.
40-hour week for a living. $600 if you're a government worker.
But this was the logic. Well, Joe Biden had to shut down the pipeline so he can enter into talks to reopen the pipeline.
Really? They don't shut down a pipeline. By the way, as long as they don't shut down the Coors Light or Michelob Ultra pipeline, we're okay. Keystone's not even that popular. I mean, come on.
Not outside of college campuses.
You can't. What about the old Milwaukee's best pipeline?
Yeah. Adam Daughtry says he thinks he was in charge for in prison for drug charges. Lil Wayne.
Was it? Oh, Lil Wayne. Come on, Lil Wayne.
Judge Posey says I haven't been able to find where the $54 million plus in repairs for the VISD bond issue is listed.
Now,
is
Judge, don't
somewhere?
judge. Now, don't go starting to look around at that. Now, come on. We just need to give those people the money they want. Now, you and I both know that 2 times the money that goes to the city of Victoria goes to VISD. How do you expect a school district to get by with only twice the money that the city council uses to run the entire city? Now, you stop and think about that for a minute. We can't actually question that. We just have to give them the money. I did hear a story on this, though, and I'm confirming it. And when I do, I'll follow up. And this is in the works, Judge Posey. No kidding. We have a very serious meeting coming up next week, and I'll get some clarification and bring it to you. You have my
Don Nicole says you're fake news. Yeah, we'll get more on that. We're not going to jump into that. We want all the facts.
If my first marriage song was Alabama.
That was it. Wasn't an old girlfriend song.
What would Alabama's marriage song be? Well, I mean, which one of they had some ballad type songs.
Yeah.
Now let's make
Dixieland Delight.
Sweet love.
That's the Alabama
Folks,
song.
the Ansonoff dealership.
Didn't they do one with Lionel Richie too?
1926. Deep River Woman.
Yeah, that might be one.
That's actually.
Judge Posey says he understands how they're listed somewhere. I think H.R. Mallory says there was some slides.
You see how he went judge on me right there? Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But are they listed? Because I want to see what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't answer the question.
Yes, sir. He went full-blown judge on me. Since 1926.
And deservedly so.
Adsonoffer.com right now is the best way to go shop. But when you decide, by the way, I told you, you get Calvin Shear sent me a note yesterday. He says, if I buy that new Corvette, will you deliver it to me? I said, yes, I will. I will go buy that white Corvette that's on the show.
No, he'll go buy it.
He'll buy it, and I'll pick it up. Jeff Fonseca says, Alabama live at Ramsey's.
Played Meyer, white-tailed buck deer, munching on clover. Isn't that how it goes, right?
Red-tailed hawk. Sitting
on a fence? No.
I don't know. Sitting on a dove. Croaking old bullfrog. Man, those lyrics. It's a lyric-driven band. White Trash Services 550-1826. If you reach out.
Took me a while.
They're doing it.
Took me a while to understand that when Alabama was singing up bending over skinning cats, they were talking catfish, not cats.
Yeah. Wow, they got you really rough.
We don't have catfish in Canada, so it took a minute. to understand that one.
What is when you play baseball with a shirred rock?
Shirred rock.
What is that? And bedrock, twist. What is a shirred rock?
I don't know.
Somebody out there over the age of 60, tell me what a shirred rock is. 550-1826.
That Corvette is a beauty.
Can you stop interrupting? People pay good money for me to do this. 550-1826. That's the third time I told you. Ash says it sticks. Reach out to White Trash Services for all your trash-tastic needs, whether you're in the 6-county contiguous area to Victoria or Holiday Beach or Rockport. Razor IT Solutions, I visited with JP Hull yesterday. JP's taking on some more civic duties. I'll have details on that later. Very, very civic-minded and a giver of a guy, hence his willingness to help support this format. Thank you, Razor IT Solutions. If you need help with your analytics or your website or collecting money over the internet, reach out to him. And Uncle Mutt's Barbecue has a daily special today. They open around 11. Don't push it. Don't get in a hurry. Get over there. I see where you're going. I was reaching.
No, I'm just.
I was doing this.
Trying to find them.
Reach out to Uncle Mutt's today. And by the way, they're open all weekend. Did you see how folks behind us? It's almost like it's a green screen. The light just went up. It was dark 30 seconds ago.
She and I would have been maybe a wedding song from Alabama.
But it was from the South. It wouldn't. If they'd have said her and me, it would have been a lot more popular. But down here, she and I it's like, what is this, English class?
Well, they were trying to appeal to the Yankees.
Right.
With that one. I'll say this, Joe Biden's press conferences or his press secretary's press conferences, and I can't pronounce her last name, but
the redhead?
They're just not. I mean, you go back to Sean Spicer, you go to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany. They answered questions and there was a tune-in factor. And I hate to say it was because there was a little bit of an edge in those press conferences, right?
Right.
There was that little bit of animosity between the press pool and the press secretary for the president, regardless of who it was, and it made it somewhat entertaining.
Right, little edge. This was like milquetoast monotony.
But yesterday,
she wasn't even wearing any makeup.
I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. This is the question I heard, and I was like, "Yep, I'm not tuning into 4 years of this." Do you think the president is going to change the color scheme on Air Force One after President Trump?
Don't we have bigger fish to fry? The color scheme on Air Force One was always that pale blue.
No, I think the inside. Outside, I don't think it's changing. It was referring to the interior color scheme.
More of a butternut squash inside, wasn't it? I say lovey.
Yeah. Johnny Houghton, there he is. The color scheme of Air Force One is Biden keeping it. I mean,
yeah.
This is the question you ask the president who just did a whole speech on unity that was dripping with elements and undertones of all the non-unity. And if you don't believe what we believe and get on board with us, there will be no unity, was sort of the undercurrent theme of that speech, if you really listen to it. And you ask him about the color scheme of Air Force One.
There's got to be.
I don't recall anybody asking Donald Trump that question when he became president after 8 years of Obama.
Right. Because that wasn't the people's business. That's not why he was there.
No. And, we've completely forgotten, or the press completely forgot. They were so ramped up about potential riots on Capitol Hill on Inauguration Day. They forgot about the riots in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day in 2017.
Right. My Aunt Betty says, don't forget the press. They asked him tough questions. What flavor was your ice cream cone? Did you see where?
Well, that was on the campaign too.
But did you see where he got? Yeah, I agree with Scott Tomko that the honeymoon won't last long because the media by nature are piranha. They've got to circle and attack, but
the press pool won't do it. It'll come from others in the media, but it won't happen in the White House the way it happened
Who did he snap at about the
with President Trump?
Was this, and Dawn knows this, I know. What was the subject where he said, "Give me a break"?
Hunter Biden, probably.
Oh, I know what it was. No, they asked him about an issue and said, you say you're going to do this in the first 100 days. Is that aggressive enough? Or is that getting after it enough to get it done in the first 100 days? And Biden said, "Hey, when I first said I was going to do it in 100 days, you told me it was impossible. Give me a break." I mean, that's the tone he used. He turned his head and snapped at that guy and then got up and walked out, because the elderly, the geriatric with dementia, have a tendency to get snappy and then walk away.
Well, Donald Trump did that at times too.
It was Donald Trump. It was Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden's painted himself a picture as a kinder, gentler, nicer person who isn't petty like he tried to portray Donald Trump as being, right?
James Kerr said, "I'm surprised we haven't had a press secretary look at those people and go, 'Are you stupid?' I thought that Sarah Huckabee did that pretty well." She would look at him and just go, "You're an idiot." And then the idea that these people that are all so compassion driven got on her about her appearance and stuff. It's just the hypocrisy of the left is so tragic. So tragic.
Yeah, they trash. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. They trash the former first lady, and then they talk about how, regal this, Joe Biden looks. And I don't even get into that. I'm just, your style's your style, whatever.
Well, what gets me is, the other day, Melania Trump, who, any way you want to slice it and dice it's better looking than Michelle Obama and Dr. Joe Biden.
You could argue probably the most attractive first lady
ever
in the history.
Yeah, although I always liked the way that I always thought that Jackie Kennedy carried herself with a regal nature that was nice. But I'll tell you that Melania got on the plane, was like 35 degrees colder in D.C. She was wearing black and a black coat. And when she landed in Florida, she had changed into a Gucci outfit. That I only know that because I read it. I'm not a Gucci aficionado.
No, you're not?
No, I am wearing
your Ralph Lauren.
I'm wearing a nice thong, kind of a tricot mesh. But anyway,
careful, chafes.
It could chafe.
I've heard.
Why is that? Why can't I sit still? Anyway, the media criticized her for the expense of her outfit. I mean, as if she submitted a bill to the federal government.
Yeah.
What do you care what she paid for her clothes? I mean, Donald Trump didn't take a dime of his income while he was president. It was well public. It was in all the papers. What's Joe Biden going to do? Joe Biden's going to say, "I'm keeping that money, Jack." Come on, man. I earned that money. Joe Biden.
Are you gonna keep the color scheme of Air Force?
Speaking of lowest common
this
denominator,
gets you a press pass.
Richard King says you got to admit she was really hot. I mean, is that a prerequisite now? Do we need a supermodel for a first lady? No, I don't think so. We do need a man for that chair in the Oval Office. I can tell you that. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that if everybody's unhappy, we're probably going the wrong way. But Steve Kidder says he's going to kick his salary back to China. No kidding. But then it'll be funneled through Putin to Ukraine, and then Hunter will get half.
Interesting. I'd be paraphrasing here, but
I want a direct quote.
I can't do it. But when China comes out and says they're excited to work with the new administration, that should get your spidey senses tingling in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, because they're only excited to work with people they think they can manipulate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no getting around the fact that they have a desire for world political domination.
And I still can't help but think that was code speak for don't forget about the $1.5 billion we gave your boy Hunter.
Right. Peter McNally says, what about Bernie's mittens? You got to admit, folks, Bernie Sanders, I mean, the old curmudgeon himself, shows up at the inauguration. He's wearing like a.
Well, he's always cold.
I know
he wears that in his living room with the fireplace going and the heat cranked to 90.
But he had on. I read a deal that said, "Did anybody see Bernie with his like flop-eared hat on, and he had his mittens on and his coat, and he had
no hat, but he had an ill-fitting paper mask,
and he had a manila envelope under his arm." They said as if he had errands to run after the event.
One of the best ones. But
I'm surprised he even went. You talk about a guy.
This was the one I posted that I got a message saying that my post needed to be approved by a moderator, and it wasn't even a group post. It was straight to my news feed, but somebody had photoshopped Bernie sitting next to that popcorn guy at a Yankees game, I think, that had fallen asleep and had popcorn all over him.
Same guy. Yeah.
And that kind of started it yesterday, and it's overplayed now, but yesterday Bernie was being photoshopped into every situation where you could potentially sit down. But the best one was wow, what was the show with Kenny Powers, Eastbound and Down? Was that the one where he was the minor league pitcher?
Yes.
And he was walking up and he had one of those fold out lawn chairs, and he flapped it out, and Bernie's right there. But the other good one was the guy that had the Nancy Pelosi's speaker podium. They replaced the podium with Bernie Sanders. He had Bernie Sanders under his arm in that picture. Yeah.
And
there were some good ones.
I understand that even the Democrats said, look, there's absolutely no way we can allow Bernie Sanders to become president. I get that. I get that.
You'll like that one.
The Democrat today, he's at Lou Gehrig's
front row seat for Lou Gehrig's retirement.
I get it that even the Democrats said, no way, man, Bernie can't be the guy. But did anybody ever get messed over by politics worse than Bernie Sanders? I mean, Hillary stole his nomination. I do think they paid him off. But I mean, this guy twice arguably could have been president.
Yeah, we're going to get to this in a second because this.
Yeah, well,
ridiculous.
The Democrats have a disdain for the military. You know that.
Called them in, needed them.
Yeah.
And then forced them to sleep in the parking garage at the Capitol. And they tried to smear President Trump by calling them suckers and losers or whatever. Remember that one?
Yes.
Remember when President Trump wanted to bring him into Washington, D.C., when the rioting was taking place, and he wanted to put him up in a hotel, and the mayor of D.C. said no National Guard will be permitted in any of our hotels?
I mean, wow.
But she had no problem with them sleeping on the floor of the Capitol and then shuffling them to a parking garage. And, I've not agreed with Governor Abbott on a lot of things lately, but he did call back the Texas National Guard troops that were there when he found out that they were now forced to sleep in a parking garage.
Good for him. Mike Lindell could have really made a difference there by going around and giving each one of those guys a My Pillow. I find it interesting that, and I can't confirm the exact context, but I did hear these words come from Greg Abbott in very, very slight paraphrase. He said, hey, you want to defund the police in Texas? Texas is going to defund your town. I was quite proud to hear him basically say, you want to defund the police? Well, the state of Texas is going to back off some of the money they send you if you start defunding our police. Good job, Greg Abbott. I think he's trying to regain. I could be wrong, and I'd like y'all's feedback. I feel like Greg Abbott's
hard. We don't have a phone yet.
No, but they're pretty active here, boy. There's a lot of caffeine churning through those comments.
Speaking of which, I'm out of my caffeine.
Don't you feel, folks, like Greg Abbott he was a guy that I felt most Texans were like, boy, that's our governor. And then I feel like he kind of took a step back with some of the wishy-washiness during COVID. And I don't know.
CW Bean and a couple others checking in on YouTube. Good morning.
Good morning, C-Dub. Looking good here.
Craig Simpson, how come ISIS is back in the news? The timing seems a little bit odd.
Yeah, well, they look, why is North Korea back in the mix? Why, because they can't, Iran and nuclear back in the mix, because they know their job is to test the spine of Joe Biden. And I think they're going to find out, much like they did under Barack Obama, that there is no spine there.
No, not at
There
all.
is no spine on the 48-year jellyfish known as Joe Biden. I think I'm sad to admit, I agree that we will probably be forced into some type of military action within the next 24 months.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Eric Reifsnyder says Democrats, Republicans, two sides to a coin, but still the same coin. Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that.
Now, see, you can say Reifsnyder with no problem. But Castaneda, I mean, Reifsnyder, I saw nothing.
That's a German name.
Yeah.
Probably East German.
Probably. Eastern Bloc, shoulders about 4 feet wide, square jaw.
Greg Garcia says none of these countries are afraid of Joe Biden. No, they're not. Because the ones that should be have bought off him or his family. You've heard nothing out of this administration about the jailing of Vladimir Putin's main competitor. Nothing. It's been crickets.
Here's a quote. It says, military source in D.C. For the last week, my battalion has been sleeping on the floor in the Senate cafeteria. Today, the Senate kicked us out and moved us into a cold parking garage. 5,000 soldiers, one power outlet, one bathroom. That's how Joe Biden treats the military.
One bathroom. That's the stairwell in the parking garage.
Right.
Sharing it with all the homeless people in D.C.
Yeah.
Adam Daughter says this is Obama part 3. Johnny Houghton says the Dems treat the military like a guard dog. They hide you away when the guests come visit, but when the guests leave and it gets dark, it's time to let out the dog. Very much so.
Yes.
It's a pretty good analogy. Keith Williams.
Most people are that way. The first person they call, the police are too violent. The police are too rough. What was that? What was that? Call the cops. Okay.
Amazing how more personnel and fences and walls were pretty effective at keeping people at bay on Inauguration Day and certainly calming the fears of those in Congress who were fearful.
Yeah.
But that's not the answer on our southern border.
Real quick, as we try to wrap up a week, don't forget, if you're going to have a party, a get-together, a sales meeting, I'm still intrigued with the idea of a sales meeting decorated by the Gray Barn, especially if you want to give incentives to your folks. I'm just picturing the coffee mug with the T-shirt in it, that kind of deal.
That's why you don't do event design.
Right, but that's why Cheryl does. 920-6803.
Because I'm picturing like gold
bullion,
glittery dollar signs hanging from the ceilings on fish lines so you can't see the line.
Right.
To inspire. That's why I don't do event design.
There you go. You and I.
That's why Cheryl does event design.
That's why we do radio.
That's why you call the Gray Barn.
We can only do that at one thing at a time.
That's right. And it's theater of the mind. We can make you picture that gaudy room with a coffee mug and dollar signs.
Absolutely. Wind services. Now you can picture this. Solar panels on your commercial building roof being paid for by the federal government. It's not that far-fetched. They give you tax rebates, which might even offset the tax increases you're about to get stuck with.
Maybe they get installed with $15 an hour federal employees.
Federal employees will come to your location, secure it, and then
sleep on your garage floor.
And you can have a battery backup so that power doesn't just work when the sun's out. You can save it. Be nice. USA Concrete Coatings. I've got a call into Charlie Garcia about the countertop here at Magic. It may be too small a job, but if he can do it, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Can you imagine the overspray? It'd be all over this place. But if you reach out, if you got a driveway, sidewalk,
patio,
a
pool area, front stoop,
if you'd like to put a nice polyurethane coat on your Castaneda, they can do that. I'm working with you, Ash. The other day, folks, we were talking, and accidentally he rolled his R's, and like he almost had a wreck. I could hear, He's like all over the road.
I didn't know what came out of my mouth.
Didn't know what happened.
Tried to replicate it, couldn't do it.
578 home. Reach out to Charlie Garcia.
Mini stroke.
I'm going to tell you, if for no other reason than just to hear about the great folks that we're fortunate to be sponsored by, tune in as we've got at least 2 new sponsors in February. Very excited about that.
Adam Ritchie asked if we're above the VA clinic. Ignored the burning smell. He must be there getting his nose cauterized.
Right. They're actually we're above it, but we're in the tall building behind that. Jeff Fonseca says, I need a battery backup for my lava lamp collection.
Your Aunt Betty loves the new background. It's temporary, Aunt
Yes,
Betty.
ma'am. I'm always curious when I see those deals where it's like Good Morning America.
I can't wait. I hope we have this background for a little while longer because I would love to see the first wreck.
Right. Caleb Shaw Award
live.
But you're always
on the show.
One of those national shows that's on every morning, and you see bustling New York, like they're like at Times Squares. Are they really there?
Yeah.
That's just craziness, isn't it? I mean, isn't that an opportunity for somebody to do something inappropriate? Whether it's as simple as walk up and flash yourself on the window, or they must have intense security.
Yeah,
it's got to be
still,
something.
yeah. So my Washington State Cougars ran, I think, to a 9-0 start to the basketball season.
What's happened since?
Oh, they haven't won a conference game since they started back to play, which I called. Anyway.
Can you bring up the fighting Texas Longhorns? That's a combination of the Texas Aggies. See what the Longhorns have done in basketball. They were number 4. They got beat by Texas Tech, who pretty much gave Baylor all they wanted as well. Baylor really has a fine program. The Big 12
last night.
I can't confirm that. I'm just trying to see.
I had to get to Division I and not top 25 in order to see the score for my. They did not play last night.
No, but I'll tell you that the Big 12 with Texas and Baylor and Tech and
Kansas,
is the conference.
Even Oklahoma State 9-3. They've been playing some pretty good ball.
Yes, it's the conference in college basketball.
Texas plays TCU. It was postponed.
Somebody got the COVID.
Probably so.
Yeah. Why else would you postpone?
Yeah, this day and age, that's the only reason, I think.
What do we got? Who do the Calgary Flames play?
I think we play Toronto this weekend.
Toronto.
Yeah. Tonight, my New York Rangers are in action against Pittsburgh.
Say it would be
Saskatchewan.
Yeah. I'm working with you.
Betty says we need to hire someone to hover outside the window and wave.
Right. No, I would love to
scissor lift.
I would love to do a green screen. I have to admit, I obviously you don't want this. I live here, but it would be awesome to have a green screen and just have like a mushroom cloud go up in the background. Like, wow, got some activity here. We're going to stay live.
We'd be like Orson Welles and
right.
And what was
that movie called?
Well, no, there was a radio one first. Remember, it got everybody in the country panic. War of the Worlds. Yes.
There you go.
Put a mural of all the Wade and Carter fans.
We like that.
We should. That would.
We need
with the cutouts.
We need a mailing address. Yeah, we could have like an audience of styrofoam, cardboard cutouts.
So Patrick Mahomes is going to play Sunday.
Good.
First game, Packers Bucks. 2:05 on Fox. I'm still picking the Packers to win the NFC Championship.
I like the Packers to win that as well. Packers and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Judge Posey, if you're still there, if you'll message me on Facebook your email address, I will send you the packet that I received from VISD, and hopefully it'll have the information you want. Since my stab at humor did not derail your efforts. Be that as it may, Carter, I still want to review. Yes,
Your
sir.
attempted humor failed.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm going to change my tune a little bit. I think the Bills are going to come gunning for Patrick Mahomes.
Come a riding into town, a whooping and a hollering.
This is a toss-up, but I would not be surprised if the Bills win this game because I don't think you're going to have a healthy Patrick Mahomes under center for the Chiefs, and that changes everything, even at home.
Not to mention the fact that if the Bills beat the Chiefs, you can rest assured that the Bills' inability to close out a Super Bowl will remain intact.
Yeah.
Right?
0-5?
Yeah.
Then they go 4 straight?
They say that, yes, T-Lad, I'm going to bring that up. They say that Bills is an acronym for Boy, I Love Losing Super Bowls. T-Lad points out that if you travel outside of the United States, that there is a new executive order, thank you, Joe Biden, that says it goes into effect on the 26th. You have to quarantine and have a negative test for COVID when you return.
Well, you were supposed to quarantine already.
But now you have to have a negative test.
Adam Ritchie says Tom Brady, don't bet against him.
Yeah. If he were playing, it would be interesting.
He is.
Yeah. Packers are going to kill him.
I agree.
The Packers.
Folks, it's going to be a nice day. Enjoy the weekend. Should be a good weekend as well.
That's no way to wrap this
That's
up.
a great way to
Can't
wrap
you
up
play
the
like
weekend.
a little Alabama?
No, we don't own the. We don't have the.
Can't we just give them credit and play it?
No,
What
I
are
don't
the
think
rules
so.
on that? Can't you say, hey, this song was by Alabama? We had their address, we'd
Right.
send them a nickel.
Pay some royalties.
Right? Folks, we're going to get out of here. Stay tuned. The Hall of Famer, Ralph Salazar, will be here in a minute. Speaking of Hall of Fame, he's not quite there yet, but Jason Castro re-signs with the Astros. Very, very serviceable catcher. He used to have some pop in his bat.
Had a little pop. Didn't hit for a high average. My daughter Ashton was sad when he left the Astros the first time to Minnesota,
But
but
he had like great hair or something.
he just was his favorite player.
There you go.
So it was her favorite player. So now that he's back, she was pretty happy yesterday, and I think it's a good depth move for the Astros.
Yeah. Maldonado is so solid. Anybody heard anything about Justin Verlander?
All's quiet on the Western Front.
There you go. Folks, we're going to hit the road. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Be good to your neighbors. Be good to each other. And pray for